Joseph W. Brady seeks a summit led by Senator Scott Wilk and Assemblymen Tom Lackey and Juan Carillo to address the infrastructure crisis.
So, Terry, let me take you back 3 or 4 Mondays. So this video is being done for a couple people, and we'll share it with others. But the 3 primary people that we're going to send this to is Senator Scott Wilk. Senator, Happy New Year to you and your family. My good friend, Assemblyman Tom Lackey. So Tom oversees the assembly district that I live in, and our new assembly member from the Palmdale area, who he picks up Palmdale, Little Rock, Lake Los Angeles, Sun Village, and he picks up part of Adelanto and Victorville, and that's Assemblyman Juan Carillo. So he's with the 39th District, and I want to welcome him. We have a problem out here in the high desert region, Mojave River Valley, and I don't think that the issue is any different in Assemblyman Carillo's area. So to kind of go back in time, I moved from Santa Barbara, California on Friday, May 13th, 1988, and I moved here at 2:45 in the afternoon. And part of the reason I moved here at 31 years old was water was a controlling deal in Santa Barbara, and quite candidly, I couldn't make a living. So a report came out that was dated in 1989, and it was the then, it was called the Phase 2 Final Report, Victor Valley Infrastructure Enhancement Program. And it was commissioned by John Joyner, who was the chairman of the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors and was the first district supervisor. So he went through and put this report together, and at the time it said that it was like 1.2 billion or 1.3 billion in infrastructure. This is in 1989. So that was parks, water, sewer, roads and things like that, libraries and things like that. Well, so we saw what happened with George Air Force Base. That closed, and that stopped any money from being spent really between 1990 and about 1999. And then we went through this great expansion when our state government still had redevelopment agencies, so there was tax increment coming, and the cities could use some of the tax increment for projects that they felt on infrastructure. And then Governor Jerry Brown took that $5 billion away. So we've got a great problem here, and I'm asking the 3 of you to strongly consider a date, sometime, let's say September, October, could be in early November, sometime prior to the end of the second week, where the 3 of you help sponsor, and I'll help work with you, and I'll even bring it up to the Board of Trustees tonight, probably at our April 11th Board of Trustees meeting, that maybe the college host a lunch, and the lunch would be really brought to you by, led by State Senator Wilk, State Assemblyman Carillo and Lackey. Why? I'll tell you candidly why. We have no leadership out here. I know everybody that's an elected official. They know me, and they know I call it the way it is. If they like it, great. If they don't, they don't. I'm not worried at 66 years old, having been out here for 35 years. We've almost done $1 billion in commercial real estate. We brought in a fair amount of income and fed a lot of families. I'm deeply concerned that we have 3 great projects right now, 2 actually. The third one, that infrastructure will take care of itself, that we are not prepared for this. So we talk about we want growth out here, we welcome growth out here. We have five very pro-growth cities. We have 5 pro-growth councils, the majority of them. We have a council member here and there that's not, but we are not prepared. So what's the deal? We have hopefully the Bright Line speed train that will hopefully be funded this year in 2023. And that's anywhere from a 4 to 5 year project. It's anywhere from an $8 to $10 billion project. And it's anywhere from creating 30 to 40,000 construction jobs. My question to the 3 of you, where are those people going to live? So in our portion of the high desert here, I can tell you that on single family rentals, the vacancy rate is probably less than 1%. and the landlords are doing really well. If you go into the multifamily market, you take a look, it's about 1% as well. So just Brightline alone, what's that going to do? Well, then we have another positive development with Burlington Northern Santa Fe coming into Barstow. So they have purchased 4,000 to 4,500 acres of the inner port that they're going to build. They're building it between Linwood Road and Hinckley Road, right off of Route 66 Main Street, whatever you want to call it, National Trails Highway. And that is going to create 22,000 jobs. Those are 22,000 permanent jobs, and they're going to be good jobs. Question is, where are these people going to live? So our roads are not ready, our sewer lines are not ready, our water lines are not ready, our parks are not ready. And as a society on out here, if we want to raise the bar for people, how are we going to do it if we don't have the infrastructure? So Terry remembers, and if you like, just email me, and Terry will pull the first the first video we did. So look how thick this infrastructure report is. And I can tell you, this thing weighs at least 10 plus pounds. So when I recorded this segment, a segment very similar to this, back probably about 3 months ago, I challenged our 5 city managers. I sent this video to 5 city managers, and I asked Niels Benson, I asked Keith Metzler, I asked Jesse Flores, I asked Doug Robertson, and I asked Willie Hopkins, who would like this binder to borrow to take a look at infrastructure? And the only one that responded was Keith Metzler. Okay, and I know them all. Now I'm not pointing fingers, but when I say to you we are divided, it's not a question. This is Joseph Brady's idea. This is our problem. So I'm sitting here today with Terry Kurtz and his son Robert. You know, Robert is a lot younger than I am. He's less than half my age, and he's going to have to deal with this. How are people going to get down Bear Valley Road? I mean, we don't have the freeway system that we once envisioned. We don't have the high desert corridor that we talked about. At one time, many years ago, I remember there's a loop system that took 138 around, and then it would wrap around. It would be kind of like on a miniature scale what they've done over in Vegas. They've done a great job over in Vegas. They've done really a great job down there in Phoenix. So, you know, many of you know, or you don't know, I'm trying to build a custom home in Prescott, Arizona. And so when you're driving around these cities, you take a look and say, wow, they really prepared themselves. So why don't we prepare ourselves? So let me cut to the chase. We will help you identify through your staffs. We obviously know we have 5 city councils. We have 5 planning commissioners in each one. We have the Mojave Water Agency, I think the best run water agency around. Assemblyman Tom and Assemblyman Juan, I hate to tell you, but I think that we're running a whole lot better than AVEK, which is the Antelope Valley East Kern, which is a good group. We have the Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District. They run both areas. We have Victor Valley Community College, okay, I think would help facilitate this lunch. We have a great chef out there. I would suggest that, you know, we invite the top, 10 civil engineers and architects and commercial brokers and industrial contractors and residential contractors, and really have a discussion amongst the cities and the different municipalities on what are we going to do. This is not going to magically appear. And I think that you're all looking, going, wow, yeah, I think, and it's not like we can wake up tomorrow and hope that it's here. I think we owe it to our residents. I think we owe it to the residents that are here today. I think that whether they're going to benefit from this infrastructure, but I think we need to benefit the kids that are out here, or your great grandkids, that we give them some kind of an opportunity, and we really sit down and figure out how we're going to do this. So we understand how CEQA works, and that would be a delay. I think that between the 3 of you working together in tandem, hopefully maybe you could get the governor's office behind this. We're going to need some serious money here. My guess today, to take care of the infrastructure work that we're going to need here in the high desert region, including Barstow, and that's roads and water, flood control, parks, libraries, things like that. You could probably easily chew through $3 billion. What is $3 billion anymore? I mean, they were throwing $1 trillion here and $1 trillion around during COVID like it was nothing, and look what it did. It caused a recession. But Terry, one of the things I get is I get the Phoenix Business Journal, and here's just it's a weekly, and it's great. And there's billions of dollars going to Phoenix, expanding Arizona infrastructure grants. So they've got it. I've got an entire file. I mean, this thick on infrastructure. I mean, Biden's talked about it, Trump talked about it. Here's banking on infrastructure. This is in Washington Examiner. Pair of bipartisan House members pushed for a privately funded entity to finance projects. There's a point where we need to come together, and I think the three of you can help us do that. Well, I'm hoping that the three of you will agree. I'm willing to sit down with the college and help coordinate this. I'm willing to help identify. We know who the shakers and movers are on up here, and there are a couple shakers and movers up here that I may not personally like, but they are leaders within the region. I think that they would need to be there. So the major categories, again, I've mentioned. So give it some thought. As they say, like emails, videos are around for a long time too. So I look forward to hearing from each one of you. My cell number, I'm going to have Terry posted on there, but if you need it, 760-954-4567. I start early. I go to bed early. At night. I'm deeply concerned about this. I think this is probably one of those issues that bothers me the most. And let me tell you where this kind of came from. So I have kept this binder on my desk for the last 20 years. But a month ago, I had the opportunity of speaking to Levita, Lucerne Valley Economic Development Authority, and it's just an absolutely incredible group. They're out in Lucerne Valley. I can't wait every year for them to invite me because when you have Linda Gommel and Bill that works with her at Lucerne Valley Market and Chuck Bell and Millie Rader, you just got an incredible Dave Ribb. You've got an incredible amount of people in Lucerne that deeply care about Lucerne Valley. And some of them want to see some growth and some don't want to see some growth. So I went out there on a Monday and I gave my projections of the future and talked about I-15 and Brightline and BNSF. And I had a gentleman by the name of John Smith. He wasn't really happy, and he asked a question right in the middle of my presentation. And he asked me who the person was that I would suggest be named in the class action lawsuit for all the challenges and problems that will be brought about because of the lack of infrastructure. So I stood there and I was kind of taken back. I've given over 1,000 speeches. I've never had anybody ever do that. So I thought, well, so I explained to him that I came out to talk about the glass being half full, not half empty. But I thought about what he had to say. And there was a lady there. I didn't get her name. She had blonde hair, and she was upset about all the growth coming up here. And I explained to her that the people that want growth are not going to come out to Lucerne Valley because Lucerne Valley is more of an agricultural area and bigger sized properties. But he really, as I left that night, it didn't make me mad. It really kind of challenged me. So the next morning I woke up and I was getting ready, and I said to Deb, I said, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Scott Wilk, who I know and trust, and Tom Lackey, who I know and trust, and Juan Carillo. And I think that really based on the last conversation, what I shared with Juan in an earlier the video, that Dr. Walden really enjoyed meeting him recently and thinks that he can make things happen. I'm going to challenge the three of you guys, legislators and elected officials, to challenge the Valley to this meeting. And I don't think we dance around. I think we pick a date that the three of you guys can do it, and we do it, because otherwise there's going to be somebody that says, oh, I don't want to do that, or blah, blah, blah. This is not, again, about me, and it's not about the three of you. It's about we, and it's about this valley. So I want to close and just thank you for taking the time to watch this, and I look forward to hearing from you in the very near future.
Joseph W., as we start out a new year, it's always good to hear encouraging news in terms of development and economics. What can you tell us?
Well, Terry, in Victorville, the Green Tree Bridge over the railroad will be open by May 1st. Skanska's had a couple of little delays. That's going to be, I think, a game changer. Victor Valley Community College, we're well under construction for the education conference center. Just had an update with John Nolan at our board meeting last week. Exciting. I mean, just exciting. They found some dirt they had to kind of over excavate and take care of. But what they're doing is great. We've got more state money coming in for additional maintenance. So when people get frustrated at maintenance at any school, forget Victor Valley College, but I think that every student should go to a school that looks like a Marriott or is maintained like a Disneyland. That money comes from a state in a separate fund. And we're lucky this year that we're getting some more, and John's really gone out. He's got a bunch of projects going to be bid. It is really important to the Board of Trustees as well as to me that it looks good. Just had lunch with John, with John Ohanian down there at Silverwood. They are moving full speed ahead. When you have a master plan community that, is 9,600 acres and 15,600 homes, and you're processing plans as fast as you can through the city of Hesperia, a great city who's never processed plans. For a master plan community, things are gonna move a little slow, and they're working really well. He has just he loves working with the city.
Can we go back out?
We can go back anytime he wants. So yeah. I snuck out there a couple weeks ago. The bridge. You remember where they're going to build the bridge?
Yeah.
That's out to bid right now. They hope to start sometime probably in March. They've got a number allocated. So let's just say they've got a number at $4.4 million allocated. But with global supply, steel, concrete prices, concrete is continuing to come down. John watches the cement numbers every day. He's hoping that they'll be able to award that probably by February or March. So that bridge is it's a $4 million bridge, no matter what you wanted to say. They've been interviewing the home builders. They probably will have 6 or 8. The model complex has been moved back by 3 months, and very smartly. They've made some changes on some of the production and the architectural requirements. We sat down and he kind of told me by phase and what they require with the builders and how the lots will be finished. And so they've got 1,987 that they'll fully grade. They'll have probably 600 that they'll be finished. Then they'll deliver them to the builders less with one cap of asphalt that has to be done. So they literally deliver to the builders finished lots. So it's up to the builder to build. And the names we went through are this is a game changer. So that's good. Getting back in the Cajon Pass, Sully Miller keeps working on I-15 and the widening and moving lanes over. I think it's cost them a little bit of time. That project's not going to be over until 2025, so we're now in 2023. So they got a long way to go, but it's 9.9 miles down from really Oak Hills Road to Bear Valley in the back. So my friend Vince Bomarito is involved in that, and I think they're doing everything they can. I know that there's no way to widen that and to do the work they've got to do. So they'll take out all the asphalt, the base, put down new base, put down new asphalt, and then on top of that's going to be concrete. So the stretch from Oak Hill Road to Bear Valley Road will be a 50-year road. So Brightline continues to move forward with the speed train. We've gotten a couple calls from contractors kind of sniffing around. I think that decision will be made between the end of first quarter and second quarter, so we're really monitoring that. I've got to reach out and talk to Greta and Ben soon. They're a great deal with it, and that's a game changer. And I think now that the City of Rancho Cucamonga, I think, has approved the EIR that they had to do, I think that they've come to an agreement with the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority and Ray Wolf and his group on acquiring some property next to the Milliken Metrolink station that they're going to acquire to do an expansion. That's already been done. That they picked a place in Hesperia will be right there at 395 and I-15. So if you know where the Pilot truck stop is, Pilot Travel Center, I'm proud to have done that deal. Right across the street, that's Joshua, where 395 comes like this and I-15, it comes together. Caltrans owns a piece right there. And that's where the parking's going to be for that. So we just saw a flip. So when Richard Branson was involved early on and the project was purchased out on I-15, they bought the 264 acres for $10 million. They just retraded that internally within an organization that ends with Express West, and he sold that piece for $27 million. So I think the money's real. I really think is a game changer. So you've got that. You've got SCLA. You drive on out there, you see buildings under construction. You got some building spec. J Dick and CBRE are doing a great job with Dar Longo and those guys. You've got Kim and Tyson. Kim Snyder is the president of the Western Division of Prologis, and Tyson Chaves. You can feel it out there. I mean, as you drive through, you can really feel what's going to go on. There's going to be a new Holiday Inn Express. It's going to be on Air Expressway in Atlanta. That's going to be good. There's apparently a grocery store coming to Atlanta, which is a top name, more of a Hispanic flavor. That's good. Then you get into just what's going on in Victorville. I mean, we've got the new retailers coming in. You've got in Apple Valley. You've got the Sprouts coming in with Raising Cane's. I-15 Apple Valley is still growing and putting money out there. And then I think the last area is what's going on in Barstow. So Barstow's going to get its day. So I know that everybody's kind of wondered why Barstow had a population, according to Terry Caldwell, the 8-time mayor of Victorville back in 1956, the year I was born, the year he played football against Felix Diaz, God bless Felix, where they had 25,000 people and they only have 23,000 people today. That town is not only going to double in size, but I expect more than double in size in probably the next 20 years. So with BNSF's announcement, and most people don't necessarily see this in the daily press. So while I don't necessarily see there's much good coverage in the daily press anymore or good content in the daily press anymore, and you can't get any articles in there, the one thing I do have to applaud the daily press, well, they collect the money, is this great ad that's coming out with Burlington Northern Santa Fe. And I think that what they say here is a new gateway to prosperity. For nearly 150 years, BNSF Railway has partnered with California's high desert community. We're proud to reaffirm our commitment to the region with plans to build the Barstow Industrial Gateway. The first of its kind integrated rail complex will create tens of thousands of jobs, reduce highway congestion, strengthen the U.S. supply chain. Together, our partnership will help the region and our county prosper for years to come. So they're obviously they're a Warren Buffett company. They're a Berkshire Hathaway company. A good friend of mine, Kevin Palmer, used to work there years ago. Haven't seen Lena Kent for a long time. She's kind of their public relations person. I'll send this to her. But that's just a game changer. So as we are taking people out to Barstow to take a look at our project, the Shops at Spanish Trails, or anything else that people are taking a look at, we take them out there. So it's a 4,500 acre facility. It's a $1.5 billion initial. When I say initial investment, that's not with all the bells and whistles, and it's going to create 20 to 20,000 direct and indirect jobs. So there's a huge amount of support from the governor's office, and there's a huge support nationally. And when you have that, a lot of times the environmental groups are not going to oppose it as much. City staff's working around the clock. Because of our project at Avenue L, where Home Depot is, we meet on a fairly regular basis with Willie Hopkins, the city manager, and Chris Heldreth, and Cody, and Brad Merrill. City's doing everything they possibly can to keep up. So it's a good problem to have. We're talking to some land developers about kind of preparing and getting them involved. So that's really, really exciting. So there's the housing market now is steady up here. It's not going up and it's really not going down. Well, the national has gone down 7 months in a row. And nationally, so the most current numbers are November, according to the National Association of Realtors. And we're down like 7.7%, which would seem like a lot. When you think about how fast the housing market was growing in percentage, I mean, in Arizona it was going up 20%, 18%, Boise, Idaho, 24%. To only be down that much. Now, there are markets in the country. Boise was the most overvalued housing market in the country. They've probably taken a bigger, parts of Phoenix are feeling it. So the Phoenix market is feeling it with product from $400,000 to $600,000, but not feeling it with product at $1.2 million to $5 million. So because the people that have that kind of money are still pushing the market. That we've seen a little bit of a slowdown over in Prescott. We've just got our initial bids back on our house over there, and they're way over budget. So we've got to go back and rework. But Terry, that's part of the supply chain issue. And I will say this: the supply chain issue is starting to really kind of work itself through. I've got a friend of mine, John Monroe. His mom sold my mother a home 30 some odd years ago down, and he owns a bunch of big ships. John moves goods across the country. Things are starting to stabilize. You've got John DeCesare. John is the leading expert in the world. He owns a company called World Logistics. He tracks things. Instead of having 120 ships sitting out in front of the port anymore out there, there's maybe 20. And what's also happened is a lot of the shipping companies got upset because we probably have some longshoremen down there that get paid really good money, like $500,000 a year to move those boxes. That's a lot of dough. And maybe they went out on strike maybe one too many times at the wrong time. So they're moving this stuff to Houston and to Charlotte and to other places back east, and they're saying to LA and Long Beach, we're out. So now you have less ships coming in, so you have less pressure. I think that with BNSF, what the plan is to unload at the ports and bring the containers up the Alameda Corridor, down the 10, up the Cajon Pass, and then break them apart in Barstow and then re-ship them out. So hopefully they'll have less trucks out there. I do want to give a plug to a guy. He's a fellow SIOR. So with SIORs, we're brothers or sisters, and there's a certain code of ethics that you have to have in order to be one. You can't buy after it. Buddy of mine, Herb Graybell, he's with Kidder Matthews. He just completed a big 450-acre inland port over in Mojave. People would say, that's crazy, what's over there? Well, if you know anything about the freeway bypass, you know anything about how you go into Mojave and then you got 14 going like this, he had 450 acres I looked at for a company out in Florida a couple of years ago. It was going to be a big, they were going to store brand new cars and accessorize them there. So I've known Herb. He's not only a fellow SIR, but he's one of the hardest working people I think I have seen when it comes to determining how the railroad system works. I mean, he's been traveling over to Japan and over in the Far East this last year in his own nickel to make these connections. So he is able to put together it's called the Mojave Inland Port, and it's in Mojave, California. And it's going to kind of look something like this. And Herb, I'm really proud of you. Terry, I'll give you this. And the only thing I need you to do is take off his phone number and his name and the logo, so that nobody, if anybody watches this, you need any land, you call me and then I'll call Herb. That's the way it works. So no, it's pretty exciting. I mean, so now you've got Barstow and you've got Mojave. I think we've got some great. So let me just show you a little picture. Terry, I'll give you a quick look at this. You can't have it for very long, but this is what it looks like. So Francisco Diaz, our vice president, he's been here for 13 years. He has tracked every single acquisition in Barstow of what they've got. I have to say that I am very proud that I was able to sell this piece right here. It was owned by corporate Walmart. Out of Bentonville, Arkansas. 143 acres. It was fully approved for a cold storage facility. Permits ready to go. They decided to sell it years ago. We sold it to BNSF. I was brought in by the industrial team at JLL back in New Jersey. So, we do well working with other brokers and that kind of stuff. And I'll just close. The industrial market continues to be very strong up here. I think the retail market is coming back slowly. The office market is okay. What we need some new product, and developers they just haven't come to the point that they can build anything new on speculation. But I think when you have Sprouts and Raising Cane's going into Apple Valley, you've got you probably have some major retailers circling the northwest corner of Escondido and Main Street. I see probably 3 big anchors, and one of them is going to be a really good one. I think you might see Amazon put a grocery store somewhere in West Victorville, maybe down in Hesperia. I just see a great year in front of us, and I think what we have to watch is what happens politically, and because I know many of us have really lost trust with our political leaders and the political system. We kind of where we're at. But if you just keep your head down, I think that there's deals to be done out here and people that could have a lot of fun. So.
Joseph W. Brady introduces us to a very important book.
Terry, I have held this book, believe it or not, on my rear credenza on my desk for the last 25 years. And I've been in this building since April of 2010. So I've been here now literally 13 years. I was on Bonanza, I think, for 3 or 4 years, and then we were on 7th Street for 10 plus years. What is this book and what does it mean? This is a really important book. People are going to hear me do some writings about it. I love to read. I like to educate. But what I want to do is help educate the cities that were not around at the time. So there was a committee of people that represent the high desert in what they called the Victor Valley Infrastructure Enhancement program. So take a look how thick that is, okay? Feel this by weight. I mean, this thing is heavy. But let's go through, and I'm gonna tell you some of the people, and I mean, some just absolutely great names. So back in 2019, I decided to come in on a weekend, turn on the dictaphone, kind of go through, take a look. So at the end of the day, in 1989, John Joyner was our chairman of the Board of Supervisors, and he was our supervisor for the first district. The next one was Marcia Tarosi, okay? And they did this report to talk about the fast-growing Victor Valley and what it was going to need in the way of infrastructure, okay? Between 1988 and 1992, they were believing that we needed $377 million. Between 1993 and 2010, $822 million. And total by 2010 of $1.2 billion. Now, what does that represent? That was water, sewage, drainage, roads, schools, parks, fire, police, and libraries. Okay, I can tell you this: we only hit a portion of this. So the committee that was a part of this, I mean, this is back in the day, Terry, when I came here, and I mean, Joe Watson was around, and Don Brown had Mastercraft Homes, and Roy Vance, and I mean, it was a vibrant place. It was small. It had 125,000 people. We got 500,000 a day. And if people don't like the traffic on Bear Valley Road or Highway 18 or Main Street, let me tell you, it's only going to get worse because development's coming here, whether we like it or not. I mean, there's just a 1 million square foot distribution center approved on Ottawa near Asperry Road in a great location with the only rail spur left in the high desert. But the people I want to take my hat off, Carl Coleman, okay? I've known Carl before I came here, and his son Randy. Cliff Earp, a great guy. I mean, I just ran to Cliff the other day at the bank. We both bank at the same bank. And the only time I ever run into him is at the bank. I only go every once in a while. I think he goes every day. So, Cliff, I think you got a bigger bank balance than I do, but God bless you. Percy Bacher. One of the first checks I ever got as a trustee running was from Percy Bacher. And you know what I did? I called him. I said, Percy, I hate to do this. Can I keep this check? And can you write me another one, and I'll actually deposit that check, because I was so taken back to get that check from Percy Bacher. I mean, you think about that first council, La Pignano and Val Scheer and George Beardsley Sr. I mean, these are people I really look up to, and I still look up to today. Herb Dowett was on there. Marty Brody. Martha Brody, God bless you. I'll send you this video, and I hope you share it with everybody on Facebook. You can even send it to the White House, which I know you won't do. Jim Phillips. So Jim Phillips, CCIM. Jim and Janie owned Century 21 Fairway for years. Their mom was in the business. He's a fellow CCIM, which is a big deal. We just opened up a building downtown Victorville the other day. It was cold. I mean, really cold. But it was great to see him. I think he's out playing golf like 5 days a week, which is good. Becky Otwell. I mean, the diehard. I mean, I don't think you can wind Becky up in the morning and you got to turn her off at night. I don't know how Leroy does it. And if you want to see how long she'll live, you should see her mom. I was at her mom's 100th birthday here last year down in Sperry. Just a lovely lady, and she has, I think, a martini every night. That's part of the secret. Rudy Cabrielas, former fire chief Victorville. Just talked to them. They're now living down in Mexico. They come back every once in a while, but they're happy. And he married Vicky, and they made a very cute couple. And James L. Cox, one of my all-time favorite city managers. Probably never battled with a city manager hard, and I battle with him. But I've been invited to his house 4 times to taste some pretty good scotch, and I've just always had a huge admiration for him. He's not one that you want to argue with when he was city manager. He was actually, I used to say, the best city manager the state of California ever had. So, Jim, that's just a little plug.
You know
Bob,
who his political idol was?
Who?
Because I asked him. It was Dwight Eisenhower.
Was it really? Yeah, I believe it. And he's gotten mad at me a couple times. He got mad at me like 2 years ago, and we got over it. I mean, I love him to death. And Bob Dolch. I mean, Bob's I think he's still alive. He was a great council member. He was a business person. You could go talk to him about something. He treated you with respect. Chuck Bell. I mean, Chuck is out there in Lucerne Valley with Linda Gommel and that group. I'm going to tell you, from anytime I leave and I go past Dead Man's Point, and I go on out there, that's who I think about. Linda and Chuck and all the great things that the people in Mitsubishi do. But Chuck was a planning commissioner. He lost his wife 10 years ago. Just an absolute consummate volunteer, does anything he can to make Lucerne Valley and the High Desert a better place. And we're all lucky to have had him. And then Mr. Al Muncy out up there in Hellendale. The final report was prepared by the County Land Management Department. Robert Oley was the principal. Molly Bowe with ODLE and Associates out of Yorba Linda, and the date of the report was November 22nd. So, Terry, what I did was in November, I wrote this memo November 6th of 2019. I have made myself a promise. Deb says, Joe, you don't have any more time. You have no time. You know what you do? You just find the time to come on in here and to go through this and figure out what you got to do. I think it's really important that if one of the cities, had some extra money and they want to make a copy for the other cities, I think that every council person should see this on up here. I think that every planning commissioner should see this. We're going to have great growth up here. And unless we address the issues that we're addressing here, Terry, we're going to run into a problem. We're going to run into the potential water moratorium that we almost had when Barstow sued the upstream users up here and we had to adjudicate the water basin. I have a feeling that with the distribution facilities coming up here, if we're not prepared, we'll have soccer dads and soccer moms oppose that and slow growth down. So I'm really encouraging. I will ask the office here if they'll send this video to every new council member. We did the earlier segment about who's new on the council, and really suggest them that the report's here. If your city wants me to deliver it and they want to make 5 or 10 copies, they can. This is really, I've never seen one since. And I'll tell you what's funny. I've never heard a supervisor, even including our current supervisor, Paul Cook, ever talk about it. Because it's not important, okay? I don't think that he thinks it's important. I don't think his staff thinks it's important. I don't even know if Don Rowe knows about this or even thinks it's important. But this is the high desert, and this is where the growth is going to go. And if we're going to need to have that infrastructure. And lastly, I was out having lunch with somebody recently. They talked about there's actually a plan at one time that talked about a big circle, a roadway that would go around the high desert region, very similar to what has gone on in Vegas. They've done a great job where the 215 splits off and goes out to the west and then curves back and comes through the Summerlin project. They did a great job. And while we're not the size of Vegas, we're going to see that kind of growth someday. And while there was a plan at one time to do it, that plan has apparently gone sideways. And I think we really do need to get the cities together, a joint workshop, not a meeting to meet. This is about Robert's age group. This is about your great grandkids. This is not about me. I mean, we'll get through the long stoplights and the trucks on Bear Valley Road and Main Street and all that kind of stuff. This is about the next generation. So I really do implore all of our state officials. Tom Lackey's our new assemblyman, just a great guy. I've known him for a long time. I think he's going to be a great assemblyman. Scott Wilk. Scott, I know you're passionate. He started his career in the community college system. Jay Obernoldi, I just think is the greatest congressman that we're going to have. Although, Jerry Lewis was good. He brought a lot of money back when he was on the appropriations side. And hopefully Don Rowe, and maybe we'll get a call from Paul Cook personally and say, what can I do to kind of lead the charge of this? So, Terry, I just want to say I think this is really important, and I finally brought it out, and hopefully people will understand why I think it's important. We can't keep kicking this can down the road anymore. So, Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you have a great day, and God bless America.
On upcoming Joseph W. Brady Reports, Timely Topics, we hope you'll join us. Thank you for watching.